Go for it.
Do, do, do. I think we should be live. So, hello everybody, what's up? Welcome to another installment of appabend Streams. Today we are streaming with Micah Curtis. Micah Curtis is he is formerly of TechRaptor and also formerly of Blister Thumbs. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Yep, formerly of Blister Thumbs and TechRaptor, as in he's formerly with Angry Joe before.
Yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah, that was an experience. Certainly, I would love to talk about that because that sounds very interesting. So, basically, if you guys don't know, there's been very, very interesting news about TechRaptor and, well, not really about Mr. Thumbs, but mostly TechRaptor, because we're going to discuss about that today. I'm just going to start off by introducing to you guys what TechRaptor is, but I guess a much better way to introduce TechRaptor would be directly from the former employee himself. So, would you care to introduce us what TechRaptor is?
Sure. Well, TechRaptor says, according to them, they are a tech and gaming website. They were founded, I want to say, back in 2014 and were relative unknowns. I stumbled upon them at the beginning of the whole GamerGate saga, and I had kind of personally just been mulling around the idea of getting back to writing or something along those lines, and it's just like, you know what, maybe this'll be a good opportunity for me. So, but yeah, that's just kind of the long and short of them, is that they're a tech and gaming website. I know that the owner, Rutledge, really wants to continue to build that brand as high as he can take it. So, other than that, I can't really say too much to the concept. But yeah, that's basically the long and short of it.
Okay, so long story short, it's a gaming journalist website, and this gaming journalist website is basically, it started off, I wouldn't say it started off, but during the GamerGate times in 2014, they come off as relatively neutral to the entire situation. And even there are some pro GamerGate articles that show the collusion that's happening between game journalists and everything like that. But recently, before we actually get into the shitstorm that's been happening with TechRaptor and the fact that they just want to put a lot of articles in memory hole, or just put a disclaimer in the editorial that says, hey, this article does not really represent our current values as of now. Well, previously, TechRaptor is in a little bit of drama because they are featured in the Steam curator page. Let's check it out here. Give me a minute here. I'll try to send you the link. Wow, it's so tiny. Right. Okay, so because I'm working at a 1080p screen, I zoomed everything, the Hangout screen, out so that I cannot see the buttons.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, here is the Steam Creator Update. You might notice that TechRaptor is in here, and this caused a lot of people to be pissed off at this. Some of which, including this person over here. I think it's much better if I just screen share it. Give me a minute. Where's... my god, it's so tiny. Where's the screen share option? I can't. Wow. I think it's not here. Oh yeah, it's only on the other Hangouts option. Damn. Ah, crap. But might as well share the relevant links here to you so we can read. That's the first Twitter post. Wow, I cannot alt tab to the Hangout as well. That is so weird.
Wow.
Okay, now I can. All right. So there are those. First off, we have one here from Dominic Tarson, indie devs, please stop interacting with TechRaptor. They were neutral on Gamergate, i.e. they endorsed the abuse at every opportunity. And that's one. TechRaptor says the harassment was bad, but they also ran many. This game journalist emailed Twitter here is colluding with SJW's piece. Don't abuse these people that we are painting a very big flashing red target on. That would be naughty and bad, and we deny endorsing it. Here's the thing, when the two sides are years-long harassment campaign against women and not that being in the middle, is still bad. TechRaptor were the only people to say that TechRaptor are neutral. Ask any gator, and they said the site is one of the good ones. Oh no. The horror. Why would
someone like something?
and here's Zoe Quinn at the very bottom. Also, is the death of the author a stupid idea or what? I don't think authors have a chance of dying out, as there will never be an end as far as I can see of the written word, so long as there are novels, magazine, and the internet. People will always be writing and creating no matter the form. Authors are here to stay. Wow, what a controversial opinion. Poor Zoe Quinn being harassed. Jeez.
I can actually explain that last one pretty well. I talked with, I think it was Rutledge who actually answered that. And he has no clue who Roland Barthes is, who penned The Death of the Author, which is this essay about the idea of, do you really need an author's input to really discern what the meaning behind the piece was? And Camille Paglia is actually pretty well known for pulling it apart with her, though there's a good part of her response to it that is just mad at the creator being French. But
okay.
But it's a silly idea because it basically allows you to kind of put your own narrative on a piece where there was no narrative in the first place. Like you could say that Dances with Wolves was really about like communism or some bullshit. It's like it has nothing to do with it, but you projected that on there because you connect whatever dots. And under Death of the Author, it's completely valid because that's your truth or your experience. Okay,
so it's basically about the experience of the author, how they just projected it to a certain narrative or something like that.
Well, the experience of the person who's taking in the content.
Okay.
And it's like basically, they project their own definitions of what happened as opposed to what really happened. It's like you could say, "Oh, Doom was about slavery." What?
Okay. Right. So, a couple of interesting things too. If you scroll down a bit, my pal Rags here, he got blocked by said Twitter poster. So brave indeed. And the next next one is from Nathan Grayson himself. In case you were wondering about Valve's internal culture, first image on their Steam creator update post is of a GamerGate sympathizer site. Oh no, they sympathize with GamerGate. The horror. New creator update coming to Steam, and first thing you see is a Grumblegorp curator being featured. How these people spell Grumblegorp? That's a very interesting term.
I know. Nathan Grayson might be one of the most sad human beings I've ever seen in my life. So do you remember, like this guy, first off, I wouldn't say that there was like a consensus thought on Gamergate within TechRaptor from what I noticed. So to say that it was like a pro Gamergate site is very inaccurate. There were those of us who were. I myself was very, and still am sympathetic to it. But, some people weren't. Some people honestly didn't care. They just wanted to play video games, which I can understand. So, but the funny thing about Nathan Grayson is that this guy, he saddens me every time I've ever read any of his pieces because of how silly they are. You remember the developer who was on Mass Effect Andromeda, Manveer Hare, the racist guy? There was an interview that Nathan Grayson did with him. I think it was around 2015. That wasn't as much of an interview as it was a blowjob. So just constant verbal tonguing. It was one of the most disgusting things I've ever read. So for him to act like somebody has, I don't know, no conscience for featuring them as a Steam curator, I find patently ridiculous. But it's probably his words that got them in this mess in the first place.
Yeah. Wow. Damn, Nathan Grayson. So, if you guys just joined in, so we were talking about TechRaptor. TechRaptor is an indie gaming website of some sort that covers up a lot of topics, and one of which includes GamerGate, and they are one of the few sites that cover GamerGate neutrally. And thanks to them being featured as one of Steam's most featured creator, right here in this part, well, a lot of people got mad, got pissy. That includes Nathan Grayson, that includes Zoe Quinn, and of course, Steam, I wouldn't say Steam, there isn't really much proof to say that Steam actually removed TechRaptor, because apparently some people get different results from every single time they visit the Steam Creator Update page. Some got IGN, some got Rock Paper Shotgun, so it could possibly that TechRaptor is one of the few Steam creators that pop in. Maybe also Waifu Hunter, I don't know. But, well, they decided to, I guess, ever since this Steam Creator page sort of drama, then they decided to, out of nowhere, like, publish this. Wait a second, where is it? Wow, Steam quality's bad. Damn, need to fix this. Anyway,
yeah, it certainly has hit a hump as of late.
Oh, wait a second. No, it's bad in my end. How is that possible? The bitrate is the lowest I can think of. It's like 512, which is not suitable for any stream at all. But anyway, okay, so we get to the updated. We are making some big changes, and here's why. This is the update page for the TechRaptor website. So after the Steam Creator drama, they decided to basically put a little bit of like an editorial page. They initially want to remove articles related to GamerGate, or articles that, you know, talk about GamerGate related stuff that shows collusion between game journalists and game developers. They want to remove all of those articles, but now Scrump decided to give a little bit of idea. Well, how about you just leave the articles on there and put the a little bit of editorials note. This article does not represent the current values of TechRaptor, which they did. And Scrump basically called them out on it and say, my God, how many editors are you have in there? Are you guys fucking idiots? So, and then you have the third one, the third update I find very interesting. I visited all of the articles that they unpublished, and only one of them is legit. Only, in my opinion, only one of them I think is worthy of deletion, because it's pure speculation. And that article is about the Kingdom Come Deliverance game developer. Apparently he was being blacklisted by major gaming outlets, but I can't really see any evidence of it, because it was just literally two paragraphs in. It's like, how can this be an article? It's just 2 paragraphs long and it's pure speculation. So I decided to Google Kingdom Come Deliverance, and a lot of gaming outlets already, published this. So what are you talking about? So yeah, I guess that article is up for deletion. The other 2 articles are not up for deletion. I don't think they deserve to be deleted. And the reason is, I'm gonna get to the articles here. This one is about, that's the first one. This is the second one. Okay, so the first one is about the further improper relationship between Redshirt developer and between Redshirt developer and game journalists have been uncovered. So basically, what happened in this article is they revealed that the game developer, just name here, Mitu Kandakar, the game developer basically reveals that she has the article says that the developer is colluding with game journalists and that they have relationships before. Now, the update is pretty hilarious, because on the top here it says, Kandakar has reached out to me and pointed me to this blog post here. So there's a link to the blog post. And the blog post basically says, yeah, I have friends who are game journalists. So what? GamerGate is still a misogynist movement. It's It basically confirms everything that the article said, and the game developer is like, yeah, so what? So what? Like, she can't see the bigger picture, and I can't find, like, there's no good reason for this article. In my opinion, there's no reason for this article to be removed. The second article that I don't think should be removed is Zoe Quinn and Lying Journalists. And this is written by the same writer of the update piece, I believe. Yep. Andrew Un. So why is this one removed? It contains personal information, which is, they removed it already. So the rest is already like old news about Zoe Quinn, like her drama with the Fine Young Capitalists, her drama with the Game Jam and JonTron. Whatever is it here? There's also her beef with, what was it? Where was no. What was it called? Wizard Chan? Her beef with Wizard Chan also there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of these. I'm very sure a lot of these are verified. Lots of citations too. So I'm not really sure. There's no specific reason for why every article is removed. They just slap and copy paste the editor's note on the top. So I heard that some of your articles are also being slapped with the editor's notes. So can you please at least give us a couple of examples in those articles?
Sure. Say I'll actually give you a couple. There was a post on TechRaptor that had said that, you know, a majority of articles or something like that had been approved before Andrew Otten was the editor there, and that there was no actual editorial process before something went up. First off, that's not completely true. When I first came on there, the original editor, whose name escapes me at the moment, he did do it. It's just he ended up, around the time that Andrew took over, the other guy was a very busy guy with his day job, so he just didn't have the time to do the editor-in-chief job anymore. So he, you know, got swapped out for Andrew. So there's clearly a lack of, or there's half truths being said there. And a second is, I actually picked out a couple of these that were approved by Andrew. As in, I went to him and said, I put together this editorial. What if you could check it over, tell me if it's up to snuff. And he approved it, and it was published. So the first one is one that I did called The Devil of Agenda, which I'll go ahead and throw it in the chat for the YouTube folks to look at. That was basically, it won't let me do that. So I'll send it to you over Twitter real quick. But this particular one was talking about, you know, kind of what the problem is in games journalism with pushing an agenda as opposed to, you know, worrying more about what truth is and what the audience needs to, or is there to hear. And yeah, like I said, Andrew approved that one. The second one is probably the best article I've ever written in my life. It was called In Defense of My Good Name, a response to ethics detractors and Zoe Quinn, which the story behind this one is that Quinn, she had taken a previous article that I had done out of context to try to paint all of TechRaptor as a pro-GamerGate website, which I objected to. I said my piece on Twitter and thought that was it. And then it just kind of kept going and going and going. So I'm like, you know what? Since I'm the one who's being kind of pulled out, you know, why not clear some things up about my thoughts on the whole shebang? And a funny story about this, the title image of Martin Luther King Jr. with a Dreamcast photoshopped in his hand that says, I have a Dreamcast. Brianna Wu actually targeted me for that and like sicked her followers on me, calling me a racist.
It was-
Martin Luther King Jr. meme.
okay,
So-
okay. I'll show it to the stream here because it's a very funny meme. Check this out. It's just Marvin Luther King holding a Dreamcast. How is this racist?
I know. I love that meme. It's one of my favorites. But the thing that's kind of like a commonality between a lot of these is that some of them were very anti-corruption, some of them were pro-free market. So, and there had been conflict and weirdness around me amongst the TechRaptor staff because of my political leanings. I'm a conservative, so
Yeah.
they had been. I was like the token conservative on the site, so some people were kind of weirded out by me being the filthy right winger. So I don't think that it's a coincidence that a lot of the editorials that I put together, that some of which, actually I would say about at least half of these Andrew approved, were of a certain political influence.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
I want to ask here though, because are you saying a lot of these articles that you write, they have a right leaning of some sort, correct? A little bit of a right leaning perspective, if you how you say it.
Basically, that definitely be true.
Yeah. Here's the thing about that, because everybody's been calling people names. Everybody's been calling right winger. I've been called a right winger for a lot of things. I've also been called SJW for a lot of things as well. It's getting rather sickening. So when you say your articles are right leaning, there's a little bit of question in there. Like, in what way does the article leaning to the right? Because I don't know. Because there are a couple of things that I make videos on, and I got called I'm a right winger, even though I really do not care about these political compass and everything like that. So maybe can you describe to us how maybe a couple of examples in how your article is taking right perspective of some sort?
Sure. The main thing for me is I emphasize. I'm what we call here in America a constitutional conservative. So a lot of things that I focus on are, inalienable rights, freedom of expression, freedom of choice, freedom of religion, things along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what I discussed in these articles was the necessity of freedom of expression within the arts, and how the media could be used to censor them. So that's kind of one way I could be considered right-leaning. The big one, though, is whenever I would talk market. I was not against pre-orders. Still am not. I'm not against downloadable content at all. My emphasis was I didn't act like these things were an affront to humanity, because I believe that value is subjective. Value is what you place on your purchase, as opposed to, I don't really think that there's like an overall sort of thing that really defines what $60 is really worth to someone. It's going to be different for everybody. So I emphasize that sort of thing and the necessity of a free market, because it allows an industry to thrive, as opposed to this idea of getting angry about every new season pass that comes out, every new piece of downloadable content you don't agree with coming out. I didn't see the point. I thought it was frivolous to shame developers and publishers for putting those sorts of things out. I felt that it was contrary to a free market idea, which I felt like the game industry has and still thrives on.
Okay, so you got called. You considered your articles right-leaning because, one, you defend censorship and free expression, which now I can see why people call me right-wing.
Yeah,
I guess. And the second is you are basically you defend free market in games industry. You defend DLCs. You think pre-order is fine, or everything like that. And yeah, I guess I can see why how some of the articles are right-leaning. The next one that I want to ask you though is how can you end up getting because you were formerly off of TechRaptor. I'm not sure if you're allowed to discuss this because you discussed this very egregiously in your video, so I think you're allowed to discuss this. But you got fired from TechRaptor. Can you tell a little bit of that story? How can it go that way?
Well, I didn't get fired. I left voluntarily.
Oh, okay, okay. I forgot. Sorry.
What happened there was I had in the IRL in my I had a pretty well-paying day job. So like what little money I made from TechRaptor, I just like threw it at the Child's Play charity. I'm like, here you go. Here's $30 in a month. And so but what the problem was is that some hijinks happened. I lost that job, and basically my entire life just kind of fell to shit. So I'm like, okay, I can't have any distractions anymore. I'm going to stop writing altogether, which really was not a good idea in now that I look back on it. But I'm like, I'm going to stop writing altogether. I'm just going to focus on job. And it still feels terrible that I did that because I was hot at the time. I was writing some great articles. I was making connections with Milo Yiannopoulos. I got quoted in one of his articles over on Breitbart. I did an article on Truth Revolt about, and this is kind of where the right-leaning stuff comes in, is that the Truth Revolt article I did was based on some digging that people had done for me. If you remember the whole thing with feminist frequency and what was it? The Intel money thing. I did some digging into Jonathan McIntosh and found out that he's not a big fan of the Israelis. So that was an interesting thing to stumble on, because I connected it via a Flickr account that he happened to keep around, registered to him. So, but anyway, but at that point, I just dropped everything. So I left voluntarily, though when I look back on it, I wish I hadn't.
Oh, okay. All right. So you left TechRaptor voluntarily. And right now, after seeing this drama that has been unfolding with TechRaptor having editorial notes slapped in their articles, do you think you still kind of regret that leaving that website?
Well, I wish I had stuck around a bit longer, because there's a gap like a year between me doing that writing and then me starting YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So I think that if I had stuck around, I probably could have gained a little bit more of a following. But that's more of like a way of looking at it, like a business decision, and that's usually only like half the story. But with this, I mean, on one hand, it could have gone like just as smooth as it had before. They let me do my own thing and come in and write these editorials and stuff. And at the time, it probably would have been perfectly fine. But there was some tension. Like, people were weirded out, and sometimes even hostile to the fact that I'm a conservative, that I had gotten quoted by Milo. They were worried about the attention that was going to bring, that I was on a website run by Ben Shapiro. People were freaking out because they're like, he might get in good with these people, and they're on Fox News, and Fox News is the devil, and yada yada yada.
Okay.
So some people were very weirded out by that. Which
I find it unusual that because here's the thing, there are some people that I really, really do not like who cite my videos, and let's just say I also kind of feel weirded out at that time. And the reason I noticed is because somebody sent me a DM, actually not a DM, in YouTube, basically saying that, oh, your video was listed here. I checked out the site, and it was basically a lot of like, it's basically a lot of very hardcore anti-SJW stuff that I just really don't understand. I just couldn't be bothered to, like. It's just so weird. Have your article cited right there, getting videos cited, like getting so much more attention, and have people to worry like, oh, you're associated with these people, like you don't want to be associated with these people. I guess I can see the paranoia, or I would how these people got scared when they got that so much attention. Especially, you got cited. A couple of your articles got cited. Was it? You said that your article was cited by from Ben Shapiro's website. Was it? I forgot.
Well, the original article that I penned on Jonathan McIntosh and the whole anti-Israel thing, it's kind of an interesting thing because I contacted the Ben Shapiro's people, like his manager, and I contacted Milo because I had heard from, I want to say it was Alan Bakari who told me this, said that Milo would be open to hearing about what I had to say. So I contacted both simultaneously. Truth Revolt tells me, give us a write-up and we'll put it out there. Milo says, give me that same write-up with all your sources, and I'll look into it in Breitbart and I'll tell you what I found. And this was, oddly enough, this was on his vacation, like when he started writing Dangerous a couple of years back. And he got back to me and he said, yeah, I saw that you were on Truth Revolt. He said it's a good write-up. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna have a couple of my guys who dig for me to look into this, and then I'll quote you in here and link to TechRaptor for you. I'm like, oh, awesome. So yeah, I mean, it was an interesting time. I didn't expect it to.
I thought they actually come to you. I thought they actually come to you for the articles. So you come to them to publish it, or was it the other way around? Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay.
Because this was like a 3 a.m. discovery for me. I just couldn't sleep one night, and I'm digging around, and I thought to myself, because there was this whole thing going on with on college campuses, go figure, of this movement called BDS, Boycott, Divest, and Sanction. And a lot of the people who were into it were very, not just had problems with the Israeli government, which, there are legitimate criticisms of the Israeli government that could be had, but didn't like Jews in general.
Okay.
So, and you get those types on the right and the left. So, but the point is that I'm like, the whole Intel thing's going on, and I'm like, I wonder if Jonathan McIntosh got involved in this sort of thing. And I discovered that he not only had he had like penned articles that were against Israel. He had shown up to rallies that had people marching around saying "Death to the Jewish State." And I turned on this. It's like 3 a.m. I'm sitting there drinking a Pepsi, trying to keep my energy up, going, "What the fuck did I just stumble on?"
My God, I was actually shocked. I didn't think Jonathan McIntosh has those viewpoints. That is that's actually very interesting.
Yeah, I've seen him like say stuff on, like, people had quoted stuff like he had said about the Israeli government on Twitter, but I sometimes wonder if when you criticize a government, if there is a hatred that lies deeper. With most people, no, but the journalistic instinct in me was dig, see what you find out. That's what I found. So
McIntosh is a closet Nazi.
I don't think that he's necessarily like completely anti-Semitic, but he's I can't say he isn't either. So
his actions really do not help people when people accuse him of that.
Yeah, he like, woof. Karl Marx would love Jonathan McIntosh. I'll just put it that way. Like, seriously.
All right, so lots of people already. We have a couple of people already joining in. So if you guys missed it, wow, we talked a lot of stuff in the past 30 minutes. So basically, if you guys missed it, this is Micah Curtis. He's from TechRaptor. Hello, and he is formerly from TechRaptor, and basically TechRaptor got a little bit of beef once their site is featured in the Steam Curator. Lots of people got pissed on it, including Zoe Quinn, including lots of game journalists. Nathan Grayson also got pissy on it. It's to the point where Steam changed the Curator's page so that it doesn't show TechRaptor, or at least it looks like it, because it only goes to randomly. And some people got Rock Paper Shotgun, some people got IGN, some people got this. Then TechRaptor decided to post. Basically, initially they want to remove the previous articles relating to GamerGate, but then they decided to not remove them and just put editorial pieces. Here's what I find very interesting about all of that, though. It seems to me like somebody said this, I think it was in Kotaku in Action or whatever on Twitter, I forgot. Somebody said this. The way they handled this issue and the way they try to distance themselves, the way they try to not relate this editorial change with what happened with the Steam creators page, it doesn't really mesh well, because the editor keep on saying that, well, this is unrelated to the Steam creators page, but it does look like it, because the articles that you put the slap on editorials note, most of them from what I've seen are like basically articles that lean anti-SJW. Your articles are some of them. We see articles that are being deleted that are anti-Zoe Quinn. That just talks about Zoe Quinn. It's got deleted. So it's rather difficult for TechRaptor to not associate their editorial move with this with the Steam creators page, because it seems like, and lots of people are already speculating this, it seems like TechRaptor is doing all of this so that they can basically be noticed by Steam Senpai again. I don't know. That's how they phrase it, because they want to be in with the club, just have people notice them, big industry notice them. At least that's how other people speculated. And yeah, I can see how think that way. I can see how they speculate that way. And it is interesting to see how people are going, how, the people on, like, the people who already follow TechRaptor, the reactions would be, and especially the people that TechRaptor are trying to please. Because so far, everybody who saw this change is like, good fucking riddance. Fuck you. Fuck you so much for supporting GamerGate. And they're not pleased. They're basically not pleased. And I'm covering this story because I just really want to see how TechRaptor would go from this. They have lost their consumers. The little people that they have, they are basically lose them because of this editorial change. And it's getting rather weird. And I just really want to see how this entire thing goes. So there's that for TechRaptor. Do you have any additional comments to say on it?
I think that, the weird thing about this, just to close it out for me, is that I literally found out at like 9 o'clock yesterday evening. I'm a third shift worker, so once we're done talking, I'm probably gonna go right to bed.
Mm-hmm.
But I find out because my phone blows up. Somebody messages me on Reddit. Somebody messages me on Twitter telling me, "Hey, look what TechRaptor's done to your old articles." And I think to myself, it's like I can understand the position that they're in. The Steam Curator bit is important to them. They've got over 20,000 people following them on there and following the recommendations. That's a big deal for such a small website. And what slapped me in the face when I started looking at it is just kind of how they worded things. Is they didn't say, hey, these editorials are from a different time. They may or they may not reflect the feelings of TechRaptor right now. Like that's the generic,
version
editorial thing to cover your own ass.
Mm-hmm.
If they had said that, I think I wouldn't be as angry about this. But when they basically say that you're, we weren't as good then, and these articles were all shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what started to piss me off, and then that's when I started drawing connections. So I'm just, as it stands, I can't support TechRaptor anymore, which is just basically the same, because I left on good terms. At this point, I can't. I will probably never recommend them to anyone at this point. And I'm not the only one. I mean, Mark Kern has said the same thing. Ian Miles Chong has said similar things. So,
Yeah. So at this very moment, I just want to see what's going on, how TechRaptor would go. I still follow them on Twitter. I still try to make sure to get close to this drama. So far, they only put in the editorial stuff. I just want to see how they go. I just want to see how they went because I find it very interesting because there's like sometimes we just need people to be shown an example. Like if you cave into these people's demands, if you cave into the demands of the people that hated you and will not change their opinions, no matter what you do, it's only going to backfire. You don't it's just really, really interesting. And I want to see how TechRaptor would go from here. So there's that for TechRaptor. I'm gonna conclude that for TechRaptor. Now I want to ask about Blistered Thumbs. How's your experience with Blistered Thumbs? Well, I'm gonna start off with how can you got hired by Blistered Thumbs? That's an interesting thing.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I did a video on this a while back, but I don't know if I really told the whole bit. Mm-hmm. So I was working. My first games writing job was for what might as well have been a Kotaku ripoff site called Koku Gamer. Run by a guy named Mir, who good dude. I'm not gonna say anything negative about him. He's just not the most inventive guy you'll ever meet in your lifetime, but he had connections. He's actually in life. He's actually a friend of Brian Crescente's. So yeah, so he's I put forward a pitch. I'm like, I've always wanted to get into this. I understand that it's a risk hiring somebody who's unexperienced. Blah 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 blah. He brings me on. And pretty quickly, he's calling me the best writer he's got. So he pressures me into game reviews. So what was my first game that I reviewed? I think it was like Transformers War for Cybertron. It's like, and that was like my first taste of video game reviewing because I got that game for free from Activision. They just sent it to me. I'm like, what? So I'm like, this actually exists. So that's also how I started meeting people within Channel Awesome. Juwario was actually a writer for the website. Pushing Up Roses was a writer as well. She was the one who suggested that I go there because we knew each other through the channel. That guy with the glasses community, and I posted on their boards because I was just recently divorced and more of a loser than I am now. So what ends up happening is I find out later that Admir knows Angry Joe. And I'm like, interesting. And he's like, yeah, you want to meet him? I'm like, beg pardon, what? And he just calls him up on Skype, says, Joe, this is my best writer. His name is Micah, blah, 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 blah. You should read stuff.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting there going like, not 2 days ago, I was watching this guy's video reviews, wondering how I can get started on this whole mess, and here he is talking to me. So,
okay.
So that's the first meeting. After that, Blistered Thumbs as a concept was starting to get hashed out, and Joe was bringing Admir on it, and they were going to have a discussion about it. Admir wanted me with him to discuss ethics, to discuss review policy, things like that, because he knew that I had a ton of ideas that would be really good that he didn't want to implement on Koku Gamer yet because Koku Gamer was going to be short-lived. Mm-hmm. So Joe and I get to talking, and I end up being a co-writer of the review policy. It was me and him, co-writer of the ethics policy, and stuff like that. So that was how Joe and I started working together back, God, when was this? This was back 2010, I want to say. So yeah, that was kind of how it all started between the two of us. We literally were just introduced randomly by a dude I was working for a job I didn't get paid for and didn't expect to go anywhere. Okay. It was just something I was doing to kill time while I looked for a real job.
All right. That is a very interesting story. So how long have you been working there at Blistered Thumbs?
Let's see there. I was there from the inception. Which so it was 2010. I want to say like September, October. Yeah, it was September. I think it was when we launched of 2010 up until January of 2012 is the length of time I was there. And then I think they closed down like 10 months after I after I got fired.
Oh, okay, that's actually very interesting. So, yeah, you also made videos on Angry Joe and his like decline into just basically not making any sorts of review videos and everything like that. Yeah, I used to before that I already unsubscribed from Angry Joe, but now I resubbed back to him because it turns out he still does make reviews and it's a lot more frequent now. So I guess he's kind of improving, but back then you said I find it very interesting because it seems to me like the way you worded how you worded in that video that you made about Angry Joe, it seems like you know him like back then, like how he would do his videos, like the sorts of motivation that he has. Like can you at least go a little bit on further on that, because I find that interesting too.
Sure. When he and I met and we were talking, I wasn't in a very good place in my life. You know, I'd come off a divorce. I struggled with clinical depression, which, unlike what Tumblr thinks, it's not something to brag about. But but I'm going through all these issues, and I just had it with people, just in general. Just fuck people was kind of my general thought. Let me work and leave me alone. And he was the one who would consistently influence me in regards to getting to know the community a bit better. He's like, go in the forums and just read what they're saying. Don't comment. Don't think you have to correct anyone. Just read. And he's like, this is our lifeblood. He's like, it's the people that come in and they comment constantly and they want to give you their feedback, good, bad, whatever. The people who are going to take time out of their day to stop everything, sit down and say something to you, that's going to be the general idea of what people are thinking. He's like, if you lose where the community is at, you don't have a chance to improve anymore because you're not taking criticism. And because he had noticed that I would just like get pissed at people. And, you know, I was very ban happy at the time. I would just ban people who pissed me off just because I could.
Okay.
And the very unprofessional way of doing things. So at the time, he was the one who was moving me towards the idea, or towards understanding the perspective of the community and why community is so important. So that struck me as so strange because we have these great talks about that back in the day. One of which was while we were playing through Mind Jack, which is probably the second worst video game I've ever played in my lifetime.
Oh God!
If he was not playing that co-op with me the night that we were writing our respective reviews on it, I would have gone insane.
You played co-op Mind Jack with Angry Joe? Jesus Christ!
Yeah, that was 7 hours of us making RoboCop jokes because we could not hear what was going on. Like half the jokes in his review, we brainstormed together while we were doing that or playing that game because of how miserable we were. But I still look back on it fondly, but not because of the fucking game, that's for sure. But regardless, and he actually, one final note on that, the joke that he goes of, what are we in Detroit, when somebody pulls a shotgun out of her ass? Stole that from me.
Okay.
I said that when I possessed a grandma on a balcony who was watching a gunfight, and she pulls a 12 gauge out of her fat ass, and I'm like, "What are we in Detroit?" And he just busts up laughing. So anyway, so if I ever see him again, I'm just gonna prod him for that because I don't hold any like ill will against him. I just found it so strange that he would make this video talking about the woes of making these reviews for people, and did it in such a way that it really felt like he was giving a backhanded, like saying "fuck you" with a smile on his face. And I'm like, like, this is not the same guy I used to work for. And I don't know I haven't been in touch with him for a while. I wouldn't mind talking to him again. He's a decent dude. Yeah. But he and I, like, it just didn't seem like the same thing. So that big video I did about it, I knew that there were like 2 or 3 people who were going to flood my podcast with questions about it. So I'm like, I'm just going to do a separate video so we can talk about other shit. It ends up exploding. So, but the point that I was just trying to get across was just that, you know, there are so many better ways that he could have worded what he meant in that video that wouldn't have come across as saying fuck you to the audience. I understand that audiences can get entitled, but at the same time, their clicks are what bought him his house, bought him his awesome computer, all of his game consoles. You know, because I remember days when he used to only have a 360 and that's the only thing he had, and he was still working on upgrading his PC.
Those are good at times.
Like, I remember the days of quote-unquote struggling Joe, where he made a lot less money than he does now. So it felt so callow to me to do that. Whereas he could have just come out and said, okay, I understand the demand for angry reviews. Here's the release schedule. Here's the games that I plan on reviewing. We have a gap between now and then, but this is when we're gonna work on them. So he could have just done that, which is kind of what he ended up doing later on anyway. And if he had done that from the get-go, nobody would have gotten pissed at him. They would be like, oh, okay, well, now I understand. I'm just going to wait till those videos pop up. You know, perfectly understandable, because some people they'll subscribe to your channel and they won't watch every video. They'll watch the ones that are on the subject that interest them the most. He could have done it so many better ways. He didn't, and it really felt like he had kind of lost touch with who he was 4, 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's actually kind of sad, because I also used to be a fan of Angry Joe. In fact, without him, I wouldn't get like how I do videos right now. Without him, he's a huge inspiration. So I would say that without him, my personality wouldn't be just, my personality in my videos wouldn't be just as of right now. It's, he does shape my personality a bit. And it's kind of sad seeing him dive into just a little bit, becoming a little lazy and not doing the things, just not putting a little bit much effort on his videos. And well, to be honest, I have no beef with him. I just think that his videos are just not up to par, not as used to during the good old days. I don't watch him as much now, but still, I don't mind if I can just hang around with him. If suddenly he comes up in my face and would hang around, just like, I'm not gonna talk about that. I want to talk about video games and talk about the latest games he play, what games he play, what it would be in his best game, in his worst games. I would love to see his top 10s on everything. And it's so great. I just want to see him, basically. Just even if just as a former, as someone who used to like his content, not just as someone who used to like his content and everything like that. Just want to see him in person, because that's interesting. So yeah, so you have, let's talk some experience with Blister Thumbs. Are there any other experience that you have in Blister Thumbs with other, you know, channel awesome members that you want to talk about? You can tell.
Well, I'll confirm a few things. Juwario was as much of a prince of a human being as anyone else will tell you. He was Justin might have honestly been the nicest human being I've ever met in my lifetime. Let's see, what else is there? And another thing that there was an SJW problem there.
Yeah.
As well. This was before even like this was a big deal. But we had a couple of people who kind of fell into that purview. One because he was just kind of a dunce, but the other one was one of our editors, and he really was part of the reason that Joe ended up losing control of the site, and them firing me because he hated my politics. He didn't like that Joe was managing both the video content guys and the writers at the same time, because he was spread thin, which I could agree with that criticism, but he was constantly egging people on about politics and religion and things along those lines that really we didn't discuss on a regular basis, and we didn't really care about in regards to the website, because it's not like we were Atheism Today. It's not like we were the Huffington Post. We talked about video games, damn it. So, that was kind of one of the biggest issues that we had. I'm trying to think if there's any other like stories though that I've never really told about it. the dunce we had. One thing that's kind of funny about it is that I think he lasted the entire. I think his name was Sean. I think he lasted the entire span of Blistered Thumbs. He got brought on. I'm trying to think here. About I want to say like a month after the site launched, and I didn't approve of him, but I was the only editor who didn't, and everybody hated him because his articles sucked because he gave everything an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. So like his official nickname was Sean 8 out of 10 last name, but he every fucking thing 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10. It's like, but. It was so funny because everybody tried to get rid of him, and he ends up lasting the entire span of the website. I'm like, this guy is a cockroach. So,
okay. So I want to dive in a little bit of story in how you got fired off of Blizzard Thumbs, because you got fired because of your politics. That's very interesting. I want to see how it transpires, how it comes by, like, oh my god, you're a right wing, fired. Like, did they actually come to that conclusion or something? Maybe you can tell a little bit of story on that.
Well, yeah, it was interesting because of how he did it. So the guy's name was Eli, and I'm not going to give his last name. I don't want to dox him, but his first name was Eli, and he and I were actually pretty tight when we worked for Coco Gamer together because we worked together. We both had a strong passion for ethics and games journalism. Go figure. Mm-hmm. So. He goes off to film school, though, and is there for like a year and gets himself an indoctrination and comes back like a turbo SJW. He's got everything but the neon hair. But
okay.
It's so strange because he pens this article talking about, for the technology branch, talking about online surveillance and the Patriot Act, which was actually a really good article. Uh-huh. And he disappears and just edits articles for a bit. But as time goes on, he just becomes more and more angry at people that have issues with ethics and games journalism, namely me. I was hard on Jim Sterling. I was hard on Ben Kuchera. I was hard on a lot of Destructoid writers, a lot of people that he wanted to get in good with because he met them at E3. And they were nice to me. Like, his logic was, they were nice to me when I was waiting in line with them. Therefore, they are really ethical people.
Okay.
Something doesn't match up. So, the conclusion I came to is that he wanted to get in good with them and he wanted to stay on their good side. And that was also kind of where I got that pressure that there's this feeling that there is supposed to be a game journalism community. And that kind of hinted at the idea that someday there would be game journal pros. I had a feeling it was going to happen at some point. But anyway, so he starts getting on me because he's the turbo progressive. I'm the conservative Christian. And he had a huge beef with my faith. And I had to explain to him over and over again that I believe in liberty. And thus, I think that there should be a difference between one's religious belief behind closed doors and what is in the law. So I'm not like against gay marriage being legal, even though what my religion says is, calls it a sin. Mm-hmm. So he could never get past that. It is either you will be made to feel this way, you will be made to care, or I will make your life miserable. And that's what he tried to do constantly. And he'd always try to pick fights with me over things, and it was just patently ridiculous. And Joe would constantly have to come into Skype chat and break the two of us up. And tell him to fuck off. So Joe was the consistent mediator. What I found out at one point, Joe talked to me about this, because on occasion he would call me up and be like, hey, what's your opinion on this article that got released over on this website? And we'd chat about it because, he obviously has some beef with the way that the games market works. I didn't completely agree with him on all of it, but we'd have some interesting late night discussions about it. But he revealed to me that Eli had come to him to try to get me fired completely when I had kind of taken a little hiatus to get a day job, basically.
Okay.
And because I was a little critical of our E3 coverage that year. I felt like we could have done a better job than we did.
Uh-huh.
And what ends up, after that, what Eli starts doing, he starts getting in the ear of people like I can't remember Holly's last name, but Holly was like, if you've watched the Mr. Medicare videos and that guy with the glasses, Holly was one of the site runners, and like they tried to call her an HR person or something like that. But her and Rob Walker, Doug's brother, and Mike Mashad, he got in good with the three of them and convinced them that I was this evil, Satan worshipping right winger something that Joe was protecting because I just happened to be a good writer.
Betrayal.
So yeah, which was a little silly at the time, but I think he knew that it wouldn't be a popular decision because everybody liked me. You know, people that don't agree with my politics at all thought I was one of the best, if not the best writer on the site. You could ask Mike Birdman Dodd, for example. He and I were pretty close when I worked there. You know, Mike will tell you that he thought I was the best. So, you know, it's safe to say that I had job security because of my skills. And it came to a point where I managed to piss off Joe's girlfriend. She threw a hissy fit, quits the site, lays the blame on me. Because I had said a generic statement about being specific in game journalism. If I remember right, I had said something about the idea of calling a game too safe. I said, and what I said was, you need to expand on what that means because too safe doesn't say anything. So
yeah,
they use it as an excuse to get rid of me. So it was basically handed down from on high. Joe finds out. He basically tells me Mashad, Holly, Rob Walker all want you out.
Wow.
And they will probably be getting rid of me tomorrow.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so I pissed off a lot of people.
Jeez.
But, yeah, I tend to be at the center of crazy bullshit, it seems, in my life. But but yeah, that's how that ended up happening. Is it just out of nowhere, I'm getting blamed for something, somebody throwing a fucking temper tantrum, and then this, you know, writing gig that is going really well with my own show that was planned to go up like on a day where we didn't have a lot of like big name contributors putting their stuff up. Because at the time we had Joe, we had JonTron with us. And by the way, I did talk to John once, great guy. We had Peanut Butter Gamer with us at the time. Plus Spoonie and some other people that were doing video content and we were hosting it on Blistered Thumbs. You know, Bennett the Sage was in there. Not that that says anything. But you know, so the Mind of Micah C, which I ended up doing starting at TechRaptor and then did on my own channel, was originally going to be a Blistered Thumbs exclusive. So all this was set up and just goes poof, gone.
Jeez.
Yeah,
my God.
It was rough.
That sounds like a really bad shitstorm. Like it's like a freaking snowball. It just rolls down. It got bigger and bigger. It doesn't really need to be. It sounds like it just come from someone getting mad from something that you said that wasn't too. It was pretty innocuous. There's nothing wrong with it, and it got shitstormed to the point where wow.
Yeah, the whole firing process kind of felt like the journalism version of the eclipse from Berserk. Though I have both of my arms still, so there's that at least. And nobody got raped, to my knowledge.
Thank God for that.
I don't know about the Eli character. Maybe he did rape somebody. I don't know. You know how SJWs are with the projection.
Okay. All right. So that's your story. How you got booted off of Blistered Thumbs. That's actually very interesting. So it started off with you having connections, everything like that, and then Joe out of nowhere comes to you. You got introduced to Angry Joe, and then it was all fine until you decided to make an innocuous statement that they didn't really like, and it got chaotic from there. That's very interesting. I want to dive into how can these people, like, I want to get into a little bit of the politics side, because these people, like, they didn't like you because you have Christian values or something like that, or you're Christian.
Yeah.
And
Basically.
how does that transpire to? I don't really get it. Like it's rather weird because I've had people here because here in Indonesia majority are Muslims. I'm a Hindu, so we obviously have disagreements at the very basis of our religions, but I don't really care about our religion. But we don't talk about our religion. We don't talk about our beliefs because I just can't talk about video games. I just want to talk about video games with you guys. Just want to talk about anime, I just talk shit about anything else that is just 10 times more fun. How can these people did they just found out that you're a Christian and somehow that's like a problem for them or something? Like it's
basically, I mean I've always been open about my faith. I've always, when people ask me about it, I'll tell them. But with this particular thing, I'd been open about it, but when it came to Blistered Thumbs, I was all business. It was just like, okay, I'm here to talk about video games. If there's a game that comes out where Jesus Christ is pulling himself off a cross and beating the shit out of Muhammad or something, then we can talk about my religion. Okay. But up until that point, it really wasn't relevant. The only game I reviewed where it was relevant was Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Because I think I said something about the use of Christian theology in the game and like how it's a little different for dramatic effect. But anyway, it was basically an idea of I hold these values, therefore I am bad. It still puzzles me to this day because I don't remember ever talking to Eli about my faith, like in regards to specifics, aside from mentioning it. So, but he would just say shit to get under my skin to try to pick a fight. Like he would just say, something, 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 gay rights laws. And you can tell backwards people like Micah really aren't a fan of the gays. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, God. Does that say very interesting? Because I really want to see the people who can be at least... Because we also have people here who basically in Indonesia, which we're talking about gays, everything like that. People... it's obvious that the majority of people hated the gays here. But there are also people who are like, well, who cares? Like, who really cares? I don't really care. You guys shouldn't really care. But then they shove, the religion says it's a sin. And the other person arguing is like, yeah, this is the person's business in their bedroom. You don't have to interfere. This isn't your business. Like, what someone does in their bedroom is none of your business. Like, why do you have to make it your business? And the interesting thing that I find when when we're talking about this whole gay stuff is that lots of people who basically preach out that, the gays are evil and everything like that, they turned out to be sexual deviants as well, which I find very interesting. Recently, there was a case of an imam, I would say. He just at the time he was like very anti-gay. This is very degenerate behavior. Turns out his WhatsApp freaking chat logs is leaked, and he has nude photos, and he says very lewd things, so lewd that even I cannot come up with it, which is weird. Like if there's this Twitter account called hentai.txt, which basically shows all of text from like hentai mangas. If you read those texts, the texts in the chat logs are much worse. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. Because it is, when you hear in hentai.txt that says, I want to insert your cock into this, please insert this here, and there. What you read in that is innocuous compared to the chat logs that this imam has. Wow. Like, it's just so freaking brutal. But I think we just move on to the point. So I think we've gone for an hour here. Let's get to something that is a little bit more lighthearted. Let's talk about games. Because that would be great. You have a Doom poster in the background. Oh, because I just recently played Doom. Replayed Doom actually. I didn't know when I initially started off. I started the game off at Ultra Violence, and I beat the game at Ultra Violence because I thought the Nightmare difficulty would only be unlocked when I beat it Ultra Violence. Turns out I bought the game again. The Nightmare difficulty is unlocked right from the start. So I tried the Nightmare difficulty, and I got my ass kicked. My God, that that thing is difficult.
Nightmare will bend you over a barrel if you're not careful.
Yeah. Jeez, that thing is difficult. I died so easily. It's so easy to die. It almost feels like when the imps throw fireball at me, it does feel like the imp is throwing fireball at me. That's how impactful it is. And it's just so insane. And especially that I find there's this ultra nightmare difficulty, which is basically permadeath. Fuck that. Fuck that.
Yeah, that's an old id staple. I mean, both that and the new Wolfenstein game. Wolfenstein has a new difficulty called Mein Leben, which is the one thing I love about the difficulty settings on Wolfenstein, and they did this for Doom, back in the day too, is that there would be you'd have the protagonist's face, and then as each difficulty you scroll down, the face gets more and more demented looking. Well, the one for Mein Leben is just a skull. So you die once, you're dead forever. But that's one thing that I love about that game is that.
Before I actually cut it, I'm just gonna cut it off. If you guys have any questions to Micah about the previous topics we discussed about TechRaptor or Blister Thumbs, please do share them in the chat as we're reading. So continue. No, I mean continue with what were you saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, and that's one thing that I really love about it is it had probably some of the best difficulty settings of a game I had seen in a long time. Because if you're looking for, this is such a cliche term now, but the Dark Souls of shooters or something like that, you can crank the difficulty on it and you're getting that easily. I played it on the harder difficulty, and there are points where it's just like I'm starving for a weapon upgrade because I am so overmatched, and I basically have to throw my controller away because I'm like, okay, I can't be relaxed anymore. I have to be on top of my computer, clutching my keyboard and mouse with all of my might, because I have those like fast twitch reflexes. So,
okay. Yeah. So Doom, my God, Doom was an experience. I absolutely love the game. Have you played this? Okay, you have played it. I saw you live streaming the second Wolfenstein game. Have you beaten it though?
Yeah, I did. It was a good game. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, okay. Because I heard that it's a lot shorter. I'm still trying to avoid that game for a while because I heard some people reporting technical issues. So I heard that the game's a little shorter compared to the original.
A touch, but the story's a touch shorter, but there's a lot more side missions to do instead of just like having this thing where it's more of like a hub now, your main base. So instead of having like your main base being this place where you take a breather between missions, instead you can there's a point in the game where you're going out and you're hunting Nazi colonels. Things along those lines. So there's now there's more side stuff to do to enhance your perks and make you better in combat. So the story is a little shorter, but it's not like insultingly short. Like I played through the story mode and did maybe 1 or 2 missions on the side, and I got about like 8 hours out of it on like the middle of the road difficulty.
8 hours. I don't think 8 hours is. Well, to be fair, I don't really complete games in like a straight run. The only game that I finished in like a straight run was BioShock Infinite. I bought the game. I just bought the game, and literally after I played it, I just went straight to it because it's holiday. And 9 hours later, I forgot that I had beaten BioShock Infinite, and I forgot that I was playing the game. It was so good. But looking back, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be. But I just loved that experience. We just get through the entire game in like the first sitting in the first run. It's so
Oh yeah.
so great. Have you ever had that experience though? Because I'm sure you have.
Oh, absolutely. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
there were times when I was writing for Blistered Thumbs, I would get a game to review and I would play through the whole thing in one night, and just have the review up the next morning. And Joe would be like, "Did you sleep?" And I'm like, "What sleep? I don't know what this thing you call sleep is."
Okay. All right. So H Doom is the definitive Doom experience. H Doom. If you don't know H Doom, it's hentai Doom.
Oh God.
Definitive Doom experience. Okay, it's the Doom game that converts all the demons into monster girls and the gun into jizz. Fucking
Oh God.
the definitive Doom experience. Kotaku wrote an article on that. I remember when that happens, and it was so bizarre. So there are two questions that I find very interesting that the chat gives you. So somebody asked, what's the hardest part of writing about video games?
Keeping your biases in check, because one thing that I kind of felt like I had that some other writers didn't, and I tried to advise other people I knew on, was that there's a difference between objective quality and subjective taste.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing that I always warn people of is whenever you're writing a video game review, you want to make sure that you're judging the game for what it is, not what it is, well, not what you think it should be, because you're not the creator. So, like, for example, if you are to criticize Doom, for example, for not being Call of Duty, that's sort of like going into a restaurant that's like a steakhouse and is known for steak, and you order a pizza and complain that people are staring at you weird. It makes no sense. So you want to drink water for what it is, basically, is what I always told them. But people have a hard time doing that because everybody, when they go into a video game, whether you are reviewing it or not, has a set of preconceived notions. And I can't say that people can really get rid of them. One of the few things I'll ever agree with Jim Sterling on. You can, however, have enough of a conscious mind to understand what those are and be aware of them as you're reviewing, and ask yourself, is my criticism of this because it's not what I'm wanting to play right now, or because what I am seeing is not as good as it could be? That's the question you have to answer. And the other thing is that it's also difficult to step away when a game is either too hard or so bad you can't finish it. I only had like one game that I didn't finish, and I probably people probably would have understood if there were other bad ones I reviewed that they didn't. But I have seen very few people step away from a game and just say, I can't review this for whatever reason, and recuse themselves. The last two people I remember doing it that really struck me was Ben Kuchera, of all people, did it for Castlevania Lords of Shadow when he was at Ars Technica. And a guy I was writing with at Blistered Thumbs named Yusuf could not finish Dark Souls. It was too hard for him. And he was very honest about it. I've gone through Dark Souls multiple times now, and I'm like, this is not that hard. It's tough, but it's not. It's you got to get good. And he was not in the mood to get good because we were in the midst of a bunch of other games that you put them on the easiest difficulty, and they might as well play themselves while making you a sandwich. So those are probably the two hardest things, I think, is just and a lot of it just has to do with being honest about yourself and not looking to like push an agenda. Just make sure that you're doing your best to serve the audience as opposed to your own ego. Which
I can see that. Another question that I want to ask to you though is there's about TechRaptor, and especially the state of TechRaptor right now. I'm more concerned about the views that they got for like per articles, because you see a lot of these small gaming websites, they don't get too many traffic for just doing typical game journalist stuff. Usually when you have other sites like sites that cover, for example, you have these gaming websites that cover GamerGate stories, GamerGate related stories, or stories related to social justice topics. They got a lot more traffic. They got a lot more views. For example, you can just go look at One Angry Gamer, for example, when he does SJW stuff, anti-SJW stuff, he got a lot of traffic. When he covers up topics that are SJW, it's kind of interesting. But when he covers typical video game stuff, it doesn't really get a lot of traffic. He covers up cheats, for example, certain games endings, explain and everything like that. It doesn't really get too much traffic, and I find that rather concerning because you have all of these big publications like Otaku. It seems like it's difficult to break the big game journalism outlets right now. It's really hard. With the exception, the only one who can compete them is people at YouTube. People at YouTube have tons of subscribers. They got lots of traffic. Even people on Twitter got lots of followers, more so compared to like the big gaming outlets, which is very concerning. Do you think that, for example, I've had also people who DM me and talked about how they want to start off like a gaming website of some sort, just cover video games and everything like that. They want to start off doing this sort of thing, starting a blog. Do you think that it's like the best decision to do so, or if you're gaining for profit and everything like that? So maybe you can tell about it. You can tell what you think of it because you had experience in writing and everything like that.
Sure. Well, I will say this: building a platform is one of the most difficult things you can do because if you're looking to make a job out of it, starting with a blog of your own is not a bad idea, but be prepared at some point to work for somebody richer than you. Just because, and that's kind of how it goes with just about every writer I've ever met, is that they started small with their own blog or whatever, and they just talked about stuff, and then they applied for a writing position somewhere that's a small website, wrote there for 6 months to a year, applied to a place that's a little bit bigger, and they just go work their way up the ladder. So that's one way. If you're going to come into writing, that's how it's normally going to happen. If you create your own platform, it's kind of like starting your own business. You know, if it does not take off, you know, don't come in with the expectation of becoming the next Total Biscuit or something like that. You know, Total Biscuit's not a good example. We'll use Jim Sterling because Jim is probably one of the more famous game journalists that we've seen, despite the like little positive anything I have to say about the man. But you know, don't expect to become that. Instead, be realistic about your expectations. Work your ass off, but be realistic. It's easier to make a job out of it or make any money off of it if you're working off of a pre-established platform, because there's a bigger chance that you could go viral. There's a bigger chance that you could meet like-minded people and they promote your stuff, or you know, you just have that one random video that like hits like 250,000 views, which is my story basically, you know, after I left TechRaptor. So when it comes to the video stuff, you know, my advice is just have a schedule or a rough idea of when you want to upload. Try to come up with your own style, and be prepared to change and take constructive criticism, because this is a dog eat dog game. You know, like for me, it's like every time my views go down, I start biting my nails. It's like, oh shit, what did I do now? When in reality, you know, Monday Matt and I were pals. You know, he would basically warn me. It's like it's a seasonal thing. Around this time, once the winter starts to set in, people for some reason start watching less. It picks back up in January, or January, February, because that was when I dropped that vid last year. of social justice comics and Marvel, and that's been my biggest one since, because it's sitting at like 300,000 something views. So yeah, like it's just be patient, be prepared to work your ass off, and don't expect to be the next big thing. Expect to just you and see if you succeed. If not, always have a backup plan.
Also, another thing to add, I find very interesting is that when you try to, it's the audience's expectations in entertainment as well, because if they want to like find informative content, you also need to find a way to make it somehow entertaining, because people don't really go to YouTube to just have someone to talk and listen to, like they talk about politics and everything like that. Usually they come into like, they try to find some form of entertainment, something that they can enjoy talking at least. And yeah, there's this need, you need to find a way to present yourselves to be good. So just in case you haven't already subbed to Micah, the links of his channel is in the bottom in the description. You can also follow him on Twitter. I think we've gone for an hour and just nearly an hour and 30 minutes for this. I was actually planning to go for an hour, but because literally a couple of hours from now, I'm about to go to uni. But, well, duties call and it's terrible. But, well,
yeah.
I got a little off track, and still, it's a very good talk. So thank you so much, Micah, for coming into the stream. And we talked a couple of stuff here. And I guess I will see you. I'll probably get you in a stream in the future, or probably if
absolutely.
I probably get Monday Matt here too, because he knows me. I'm just gonna need to probably find a way to get him on stream. But anyway, so Micah, thank you so much for joining in into the stream. And this is the conclusion for the stream. I'll see you guys later on the next stream, probably next week or probably next Thursday as usual. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.